Sophia Loren, the beautiful and glamorous Italian actress that rose to international acclaim, and starred in such movies as The Millionaires, The Fall of the Roman Empire, The Countess from Hong Kong and many others, left her mark in cinema history due to her immense talent, unique presence and beauty. Possessing a deep seductive voice, a voluptuous figure and sparkling cat-like green eyes, she was affectionately dubbed the Italian Marilyn Monroe. Known for her glamour and long illustrious career, what many people don't know about her is that her father was a huge jerk who doomed her younger sister, and her mother to a life of severe poverty and difficulty in her early life. Sophia Loren was born to her unwed mother Romilda Villani on September 20, 1934. She was given the name Sofia Constanza Brigida Villani Ciccalone. Her last name came from her birth father, Riccardo Ciccalone, who was a nobleman by birth, a construction engineer by profession and was also a film producer. When Sophia's mother Romilda was a young woman, she longed to be an actress and desperately wanted to be a star. She was a gifted pianist and graduated with honors from a conservatory in Naples. Her beauty was preternatural, a blonde from Italy's southern end. Romilda's looks resembled Greta Garbo so much that she was offered a role as Garbo's stand-in. But since she was only 17 at the time, her mother Luisa did not allow her to go to Hollywood. So she ran off to Rome to be a star. And it was in Rome that she eventually met Sophia's father Riccardo, who fed her dreams of being an actress. The two entered into a romantic relationship and eventually had Sophia together. But their lives would not end in happily ever after, because Riccardo would then blindside Romilda by abandoning her, to go marry another woman. Romilda bluntly explained the situation by saying, "That pig was free to marry me, but instead he dumped me and married another woman." Betrayed, abandoned and broke, Romilda was forced to move back to her mother Luisa's house in the small village of Pozzuoli, located near Naples. It was there that Sophia's sister, the lovely Anna Maria Villani, was born at her grandmother's house, on May 11, 1938. Life, however, would not be smooth sailing because Pozzuoli on the Bay of Naples was so impoverished in 1930s Italy that it was probably the poorest city in the nation, and the small family would struggle to put food on the table. When World War II began, the family's situation became even more dire and they experienced even more deprivation. Life was hard and uncertain. Sophia's mother Romilda did what she could to bring in money during that desolate time. In order to ensure her family's survival, she abandoned her pride and took to the streets to beg for food and loose change. And yet still more hardships came for the family. During the Second World War, the harbor and munitions plant in Pozzuoli were a frequent bombing target of the Allies. Nightly air raids would pellet the town, and Sophia said in her biography that for almost 8 months, she and her family were forced to sleep in nearby tunnels. Once when Sophia was 7, a bombing from overhead knocked her down and caused a shrapnel wound on her chin. Things were so hectic, Sophia's family had to move to Naples, where they were taken in by distant relatives. After the war, Sophia and her family returned to Pozzuoli. Sophia's grandmother, Luisa Villani, a smart and enterprising woman, opened a pub in their living room, selling homemade cherry liquor to the British and American troops that were stationed nearby. The women of the Villani family even provided entertainment. Romilda would play the piano, Maria sang, and Sophia waited on tables and washed dishes. As a child, Sophia was a very homely girl. In fact, when she was a child, one very rude nurse remarked that Sophia was the ugliest child she had ever seen. And in her early school days she was often cruelly teased about her looks. Skinny, plain, shy, and somber, Sophia was often overshadowed by her younger sister Maria, who was a beautiful and intelligent child. The two sisters were very different, both in the personality and looks department. It wouldn't have been surprising if jealousy and resentment flared between the two sisters, but luckily no such thing happened. The sisters were very close and supported each other. When Sophia was around 14 years, however, things turned around for her. She glowed up. All of a sudden, she said people noticed her. Eyes followed her down the street as she walked. She heard whistles from strangers entranced by her form as she walked, and minded her own business. Romilda, having seen her daughter transform from a gawky adolescent child into a butterfly with a gorgeous figure, immediately entered her into a beauty contest. The family still didn't have much materially speaking, but Sophia's grandma Luisa was able to put together a makeshift ensemble. Using old curtains pulled straight from their window, Grandma Luisa sewed Sophia an evening gown and fixed up some scuffed shoes that were painted over. This was Sophia's first competition, and even though she didn't win the top prize, she did place second as one of the 12 princesses. She won a round-trip ticket to Capri, 30,000 lire, which was about $35, and some wallpaper which she said came in handy for patching holes in the walls that were left over from the air raids. It was here at her first beauty pageant that Sophia would first be noticed by 37-year-old Carlo Ponti, an influential Italian filmmaker who would be instrumental in her rise as an international film star. Arguably more significant, he would later become her husband. Having discovered her at the first beauty contest, Carlo sent someone to invite her to another pageant in which he would serve as one of the judges. Again, Sophia did not win the top spot in her second pageant. The judges deemed her 15-year-old voluptuous body too provocative and decided to give the top spot and grand title of Miss Italia to another girl. But still, Sophia was selected as one of the last 3 finalists and won the title of Miss Elegance. Which wasn't too shabby, considering that other than the title of Miss Elegance, she won something far better, a screen test with Carlo Ponti. When she got the screen test, other than a handful of very basic phrases, Sophia did not speak English. Yet she was able to get a meeting with Mervyn LeRoy, an admired American director. In preparation for her meeting, Sophia's mother advised the teen to answer yes to everything, no matter what Mervyn said. So she simply just smiled and nodded. She did this throughout the meeting until finally, Mervyn realized that she did not know a word of English. So instead of a speaking role, she was given a part as an extra in the 1951 movie Quo Vadis at the age of 16. That same year, Sophia appeared in another Italian film in which she was credited as Sophia Lazzaro. The name was fitting, it was said, because it meant that her beauty was so stunning that she could raise Lazarus from the dead. As Sophia Lazzaro, she appeared in 10 films, always in a minor role, but worked hard and diligently on her acting career. Once Sophia began making some money from her tiny film roles, she was able to afford paying the rent, and it allowed her mother, Maria, and herself to move into a small furnished place of their own in Rome. Bit by bit, she was even able to save up some money. By the time she was 17, Sophia decided to reach out to her father, not for herself, but for the sake of her much-beloved younger sister Maria. During that time in Italy, it was considered shameful and humiliating to be illegitimate. Riccardo Ciccolone did not want to formally recognize Maria as his daughter, so Sophia asked her father how much money he required to give her little sister the Ciccolone name. He asked for 1 million lire. She paid up the cash but never forgot his cold heart nor the depths he stooped to. Sophia would then see her father only one more time in her life, and that was several years later in 1976 before his deathbed. These experiences in her life left her with daddy issues, which contributed to why she was known to be drawn to older men like Carlo Ponti. Carlo Ponti mentored and groomed Sophia, not only on her looks but on her skills as an actress. He was the one who was responsible for getting her ready to star in American movies. To improve her English, he advised that she read good works of English literature from the likes of Jane Austen and Shakespeare, and to read them aloud. He even went the extra mile of providing her a language coach. Sophia followed all of Ponti's recommendations and paid close attention when he coached her on everything, from stylish dressing to how to respond during interviews. But the one thing which Sophia drew the line on was when he recommended she get a nose job, which Carlo said was a little long and did not meet the camera well. Sophia resisted this, telling the filmmaker that she liked her nose just as it was. She further stated that her beauty was the result of lots of irregularities blending together on her face, and she would not change her face for anything. Thankfully, Carlo Ponti dropped the matter and went on to give the young actress her famous name, Sophia Loren, at the suggestion of Goffredo Lombardo. In order to appeal more to an American audience, the F in her name was also replaced with PH. In 1953, when she got her first starring role in the widely acclaimed Ida, her film credits shifted from Sophia Lazzaro to Sophia Loren. The very next year she had her breakthrough role in The Gold of Naples, directed by Vittorio De Sica. Over the next 4 years she acted in many more films, including Scandal in Sorrento, Lucky to be a Woman, Boy on a Dolphin, Legend of the Lost, and The Pride and the Passion, the latter film a Napoleonic-era war epic set in Spain starring the legendary Cary Grant and Frank Sinatra. What truly launched her to international stardom, however, was when she signed a 5-picture deal with Paramount Pictures in 1958. Among her films at this time were Houseboat, a romantic comedy co-starring Cary Grant, and Heller in Pink Tights, in which she appeared as a blonde for the first time. In 1960, Loren starred in Vittorio De Sica's Two Women, a stark, gritty story of a mother who is trying to protect her 12-year-old daughter in war-torn Italy. Originally cast as the daughter, Loren fought against type and was eventually cast as the mother. Loren's performance earned her many awards, including the Cannes Film Festival's Best Performance Prize, and an Academy Award for Best Actress, the first major Academy Award for a non-English language performance or to an Italian actress. She won 22 international awards for Two Women. The film was extremely well received by critics and a huge commercial success. Though proud of the film's success, Sophia Loren did not show up to the Academy Award ceremony, citing fear of fainting out of pressure in front of the world if she had to go up and accept the award. But another major reason why she didn't show up was because she had been up against Hollywood giants like Audrey Hepburn in Breakfast at Tiffany's, and Natalie Wood in Leaves of Grass. She deemed her chances of winning the Best Actress Oscar to be so slim that she simply decided to stay home, choosing to stay back with family rather than brave the transatlantic trip to Hollywood. Nevertheless, Cary Grant telephoned her in Rome the next day to inform her of her Oscar award win. All throughout the 1960s, Sophia Loren was one of the most popular actresses in the world, and continued to make films in the United States and Europe, starring with prominent leading men. Her star had climbed so high, she could rake in up to $1 million to appear in films such as El Cid and The Fall of the Roman Empire. In 1965, she received a second Academy Award nomination for her performance in Marriage Italian Style opposite Marcello Mastroianni. Among Sophia Loren's best-known films in the 60s are El Cid, The Millionaires, Lady L, Arabesque, and A Countess from Hong Kong. Sophia Loren's mother, Romilda, had desperately wanted to be in movies in her youth. It did not happen for her, but every little part of that dream came true for her daughter. Romilda is quoted as once saying, "Everything that I dreamed of for myself has happened to Sophia. I live in her image." Apart from her talent, Sophia's looks became a thing of legend as well. She got nicknamed the Italian Marilyn Monroe by some in the media. She was so stunning that there was no other way to talk about her other than to compare her to the most beautiful woman in Hollywood. Sophia Loren was such a sensation she was compared not just to Marilyn Monroe, but also to cinema legend Brigitte Bardot. In a 1960 interview in France, she was exalted by one interviewer who said she possessed a rare air of mythology akin to Brigitte Bardot, Marilyn Monroe, and even Marlene Dietrich, an iconic German silent film actress. Although Sophia had had a steady rise in her acting career, her personal life was not without drama. Having met Carlo Ponti at the tender age of about 14 while he was 37, she started to get very close to the filmmaker, who was married to a woman named Giuliana Fiastri and had 2 children. Her mother advised her to stay away from the married movie maker, but even though she secretly feared that she would have her mother's fate, Sophia did not listen to her mother's sage advice, and by the time she was 19 years old, she and Carlo were in a romantic relationship. In her autobiography Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow, Sophia freely admitted that part of her attraction to Carlo was because she saw him as the father figure she never had. Carlo looked out for her, he encouraged her in the pursuit of her dreams, mentored her, gave her opportunities, and believed in her when others didn't. For a girl who had been abandoned by her jerk of a father, Carlo must have been like a healing balm to her wounded heart. Sophia said that Carlo gave her rootedness and stability that kept her grounded, while the world around her seemed to swirl dizzyingly. Even though Sophia loved Carlo, she was not satisfied with being his mistress. She longed to have a legitimate family because of what she experienced with her father. But that dream of hers seemed to be firmly out of reach, because the archaic legal system in Italy did not permit divorce, even if both Carlo and his wife Giuliana wanted out of the marriage. So Sophia's relationship with Carlo would remain in limbo for a very long time, and would then be tested when Carlo Ponti negotiated Sophia's American breakthrough, playing opposite Frank Sinatra and Cary Grant in The Pride and the Passion. In 1957, during the filming of The Pride and the Passion, Cary Grant became enamored by Sophia. She was barely 23 and he was 30 years older. Even older than Carlo Ponti. But he knew what he wanted and he pursued her. He sent flowers to her every single day and penned love letters pleading for her to choose him. Sophia quickly found herself falling for Cary Grant during long scenic drives and romantic dinners in the picturesque Spanish countryside where the film was shot. He told her stories of his hardscrabble childhood and also gave her advice. Cary Grant, like Carlo, was also married, but he had assured Sophia that if she chose to be with him he would divorce his wife Betsy Drake and marry her instead. For Sophia, who longed to be a legitimate wife, this must have been very tempting, especially because Carlo could not offer her the same. Sophia is quoted as saying, "It was hard to resist the magnetism of a man like Cary, who said he was willing to give up everything for me." Sophia ended up having an affair with Cary Grant, but the affair ended in bitterness before The Pride and the Passion's filming ended because Sophia ultimately decided to stay with and marry Carlo Ponti instead. Still unable to legally get divorced from his wife, Giuliana Fiastri, in Italy, Carlo married Sophia by proxy in Mexico with two male lawyers standing in for them on the 17th of September 1957. Their marriage caused problems on the set of the movie Houseboat for a short time. Cary Grant, who was starring alongside Sophia, had hoped to resume their relationship, but was blindsided by the news of her marriage. On the set, Sophia wrote in her biography, Cary, who was slightly dazed and at last resigned, reacted in a truly gentlemanly way and said, "All the best, Sophia. I hope you'll be happy." Despite Cary Grant's well wishes for her, happiness would be something that would not come easy for Sophia. Although technically she and Carlo were now husband and wife, their relationship simply wouldn't fly in Italy. The Vatican itself condemned their marriage, calling it illegal, and even going so far to accuse Carlo Ponti of bigamy. The Vatican excoriated the pair, warning that if they come to Italy to cohabitate, they'd be living together in concubinage. The Vatican further said it would excommunicate both of them from the Catholic Church. These were serious accusations in the deeply religious nation of Italy. What would follow after that would be some of the saddest days of Sophia's life, as she and Carlo would spend the better part of the next decade defending themselves against Italian authorities after charges of bigamy were brought against them. Unable to return to their home country, the pair were unofficially exiled and spent years living in France and Switzerland before traveling back to Italy in 1962. In that same year, they had their marriage annulled after it was discovered their Mexican marriage by proxy wasn't legal. But the annulment also conveniently helped them to escape bigamy charges. When they went back to Italy, the pair put on a facade, completely avoiding public outings together, but continued to live together. It was Carlo's estranged wife, Giuliana, a lawyer by profession, that devised a clever way for them to finally get divorced properly. At her urging, she, Sophia, and Carlo all applied to become citizens of France, where divorce was legal. In 1965, they all became French citizens after their applications were approved by the then French Prime Minister, Georges Pompidou. Carlo Ponti then obtained his long-awaited legal divorce from Giuliana in France, allowing him to finally marry Sophia Loren on the 9th of April 1966. Their wedding wasn't a lavish affair, but Sophia, after many long years of waiting, was happy to finally be Carlo Ponti's legal wife. The couple went on to have two sons, Carlo Ponti Jr., born on the 29th of December 1968, and Edoardo Ponti, born on the 6th of January 1973. The Italian government, however, wasn't done giving the couple hell. Carlo Ponti was charged with numerous crimes, including unlawful currency dealing. He even got in trouble for his movie Massacre in Rome, which detailed Pope Pius XII's collaboration with Nazi Germany, which earned him a 6-month sentence, first suspended, then reversed on appeal. But regarding the illegal transfer of capital outside of Italy, A Roman court slapped him in absentia with a 4-year jail term and a $24 million fine. Carlo and Sophia had their Italian properties including art collections seized and they were again exiled. That legal fiasco took nearly the entire 90s to be resolved, and for Carlo's art collection, which had been seized and donated to museums by the authorities, to be returned to him. Through all the turbulence, Sophia and Carlo would stay together for decades, acting as each other's champions and consolers, until Carlo's tragic death on the 10th January 2007 from pulmonary complications, aged 94. They had been together for over half a century, and Sophia deeply mourned his death. In her autobiography Yesterday, Today and Tomorrow, Sophia goes into much detail about her life and her relationship with Carlo, but as beautiful as it is, it's written almost like a fairy tale, where she glosses over his notorious womanizing and what writer Warren G. Harris, who wrote the 1997 book Sophia Loren, a biography, claims was an often strained marital relationship. In his book, Warren G. Harris offers a more cynical, slightly misogynistic take on Sophia Loren's story, which fills gaps she gracefully gallops past. In his version of Sophia's life, he even tackles rumors about Sophia's mother selling her body during the war to make a living. Harris's version of events are salacious and kind of mean-spirited, while Sophia's version of events seem a bit too sanitized, though one would be understandably more inclined to listen to her version of things, because after all, it is her life story and nobody other than her is better qualified to tell it. However, the truth of her life might lie somewhere in between. Sophia Loren has lived a long and eventful life, and she seemed to be a drama magnet back in her day. Romantically speaking, Carlo Ponti and Cary Grant may have been the most significant men in her life, but they were far from the only ones taken in by her allure. Another famous man, Peter Sellers, infamously became obsessed with Sophia while filming with her on the set of The Millionaires. Sellers and Sophia Loren developed a close relationship during filming, culminating in Sellers declaring his love for her in front of his wife. According to Wikipedia, Sellers woke his son one night to ask, "Do you think I should divorce your mummy?" In another incident, when his 5-year-old daughter asked if he still loved them, he replied, "Of course I do, darling, just not as much as Sophia Loren." There is uncertainty if the relationship was anything more than platonic. A number of people considered it an affair while others thought it remained only a strong friendship. Sellers' wife at the time and afterwards commented, "I don't know to this day whether he had an affair with her. Nobody does." When Peter Sellers left his wife and children for Sophia, she was surprised, because she only liked him platonically, and had dismissed his intentions to leave his wife for her as delusional talk. But it is possible that he may have been emboldened to take such a drastic step because she liked to flirt, and might have light-heartedly flirted with him a little. According to Harris, Sophia Loren once admitted of her co-stars, "I allowed them to fall in love with me, but never once did I fall in love with them." With the exception, evidently, of Cary Grant. Everyone from William Holden to Sidney Lumet and Gregory Peck were enamored with her. But while Peter Sellers may have developed an obsession with Sophia, another actor, Marlon Brando, crossed a line with her. None would have expected Marlon Brando to actually grope his co-star on the set of the 1967 film A Countess from Hong Kong. Brando played an American diplomat who falls in love with Loren's character. But while on set, Sophia reports in her book that he unexpectedly put his hands on her. Sophia wrote, "I turned and blew in his face like a cat stroked the wrong way and said, 'Don't you ever dare to do that again. Never again.' As I pulverized him with my eyes, he seemed small, defenseless, almost a victim of his own notoriety. He never did it again," Sophia goes on to add, "but it was very difficult working with him after that." In Harris's retelling of these events, she allegedly also slapped him. Sophia's bravery in the face of Brando's abhorrent behavior was nothing short of remarkable. She made it all too clear that she was not to be messed with, even telling one of the biggest movie stars of all time that he should not be treating women in such a manner. Without a doubt, Sophia Loren is a living legend who has had a rich and eventful life. And to this day she still intrigues and fascinates as one of the last living women of Hollywood's glittering golden era. Before ending this video, here are a few fun facts about Sophia Loren that you may or may not know about her. Fact number 1. In her autobiography, Yesterday, Today, Tomorrow, My Life, Sophia said that technically she should have been granted a title of nobility. Through her father's family line, the title Marchioness of Licata Ciccalone Murillo was hers to take. She could have been Viscountess of Pozzuoli, Lady of Caserta. But she did not want any of it, especially since it came from Riccardo Ciccalone. Fact number 2. In internationally broadcast interviews, the Sophia would credit Riccardo Ciccalone for creating all the wonderfulness that she is. She said Sophia Loren couldn't have existed if not for him as well as her mother. But in later memoirs she reversed those former views, saying that they were simply for publicity purposes. Fact number 3. For some time Sophia was related to the Italian dictator Benito Mussolini. Her baby sister Maria, as the only sibling of the most famous actresses in Italy, married into a prominent family, wedding Romano Mussolini, a jazz pianist who was the son of Benito Mussolini. Unfortunately, their marriage lasted barely a decade as he was constantly being unfaithful. So that's it, folks. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.